Hey friends, welcome to our first week of People and Places of the Bible. Today we will study Noah. Listen carefully as I read, because I will have some questions for you at the end. This comes from the book of Genesis, chapter 6. When mankind began to multiply on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were beautiful, and they took any they chose as wives for themselves. When the Lord saw that man's wickedness was widespread on the earth, and that every scheme his mind thought of was nothing but evil all the time, the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. Then the Lord said, I will wipe off the face of the earth man whom I created, together with the animals, creatures that crawl, and the birds of the sky, for I regret that I made them. Noah, however, found favor in the eyes of the Lord. These are the family records of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among his contemporaries. Noah walked with God, and Noah fathered 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. God saw how corrupt the earth was, for all the flesh had corrupted its way on the earth. And then God said to Noah, I have decided to put an end to all of the flesh. Therefore I am going to destroy them. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark and cover it with pitch inside and out. This is how you are to make it. The ark will be 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. You are to make a roof, finishing the sides of the ark to within 18 inches of the roof. You are to put a door in the side of the ark. Make it with lower, middle, and upper decks. Understand that I am bringing a deluge, floodwaters on the earth, to destroy all flesh under heaven with the breath of life in it. Everything on the earth will die. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you will enter the ark with your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives. You are also to bring into the ark 2 of every living thing of all flesh, male and female, to keep them alive with you. 2 of everything, from the birds to the livestock, and from every animal that crawls on the ground according to its kind, will come to you, so that you can keep them alive. Take with you every kind of food that is eaten. Gather it as food for you and for them. And Noah did this. He did everything that God had commanded him. Then the Lord said to Noah, Enter the ark, you and all your house, for I have seen that you alone are righteous before me. You are to take with you 7 pairs, a male and its female, of all the clean animals, and 2 of the animals that are not clean, and 7 pairs, male and female, of the birds of the sky. 7 days from now I will make it rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and I will wipe off the face of the earth everything that I have made. And Noah did everything that the Lord had commanded of him. Noah was 600 years old when the waters came and covered the earth. So Noah, his sons, his wife, and their sons' wives entered the ark because of the waters. From the clean animals, unclean animals, birds, and every creature that crawls on the ground, 2 of each, entered the ark with Noah, just as God had commanded them. 7 days later, the waters came on the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, the waters came, burst open, the floodgates of the sky were opened, and the rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On that same day, Noah, along with his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Noah's wife, and his 3 sons' wives, entered the ark with him. 2 of all flesh that has the breath of life in it entered the ark with Noah. Those that entered, male and female of all flesh, entered just as God had commanded him, and then the Lord shut him in. This continued for 40 whole days. The waters increased and lifted up the ark so that it rose up above the earth. The waters surged and increased greatly. And then they surged even higher. High above the mountains under the whole sky were covered. The mountains were covered as the waters surged above them more than 20 feet. All flesh perished, and the waters surged on the earth 150 days. Only Noah and those that were with him on the ark were left. So as we look at this today, as the first week, you should have gotten a folder that looks like this at church. In this folder, on the first lesson, Noah, you see a list of questions. Together, we're going to answer these questions. The first question says, who was Noah's father? So if we go back to chapter 5, verse 28, we see that Noah's father was Lamech. The next question says, how long was Noah's ark? We find this in chapter 6, verse 15. The ark is 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. The next question, with what material did Noah make the ark? We see this in chapter 6, verse 14, gopher wood. Noah's sons we see in several places in the story. Chapter 7, verse 13 is one of them. His sons were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The next question is a tricky one. How many pairs of each clean animal did Noah take on the ark? So we normally think that it's 2 by 2, but he actually, chapter 7, verse 2, tells us 7 pairs of each clean animal. How old was Noah when the flood started? We see that in chapter 7, verse 6. Noah was 600 years old. Number 7, what did the dove bring back to Noah? So I'm going to read to you a little bit more. God remembered Noah as well as the wildlife and all the livestock that were with him in the ark. God caused a wind to pass over the earth, and the water began to go away. The sources of the watery depths and the floodgates of the sky were closed, and the rain finally stopped. The water steadily receded from the earth, and by the end of 150 days the water had decreased. The ark came to rest on the 17th day of the 17th month on the mountains of Ararat. The waters continued to recede. After 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark that he had made, and he sent out a raven. It went back and forth until the waters had dried up from the earth. And then he sent out a dove to see whether the water on earth's surface had gone down. But the dove found no resting place for her foot, so she returned to the ark, because water still covered the face of the whole earth. He reached out and brought her into the ark. So Noah waited 7 more days and sent out the dove from the ark again. When the dove came to him that evening, there was a plucked olive leaf in her beak. So Noah knew that the water on the earth's surface had gone down. So the answer to that question would be that the dove brought back an olive branch, and we see that in chapter 8, verse 11. Noah's ark rested on the mountains of Ararat. That is chapter 8, verse 4. Then if we continue reading, I'm going to encourage you to do that at home, and you will see that Noah is going to build an altar. And then we all know that the covenant sign that God sent was a rainbow. And we see that in chapter 9, verse 12. And God said, "This is the sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and every living creature with you, a covenant for all future generations. I have placed my bow in the clouds, and it will be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I form clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you. Water will never again become a deluge to destroy all flesh. The bow will be in the clouds, and I will look at it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh on this earth. This is the sign." So a covenant is just another word for promise. This week, our memory verse is Genesis 9:13. "I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth." I encourage you to read that scripture each day this week. Also, when you pick up your folder, you should have received a bag. And in this bag, you will have animal crackers, and you'll have rainbow Twizzlers. I hope when you enjoy this snack that you think of all the promises that God has given us. You'll also find in that bag a craft. You'll find ribbon that is pre-cut and a rubber bracelet. And I want you to tie a knot of each color around the bracelet, forming a rainbow, and hang this somewhere so that each day you are reminded of God's promises. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next week.